Hi there. I'm Kim Parkinson, a podcast growth strategist and podcast producer. I work with spiritually aligned women entrepreneurs to be seen and heard through the power of podcasting. I help healers, coaches, guides, priestesses, light healers, and they are wanting to grow their show by sharing their wisdom, their knowledge, and their light. Now, I help them do that with the power of their voice. And this is actually really super powerful, right? Because it's not just about chasing the latest trend, dancing on Instagram. It's not even about having to do video like this. You don't have to do video. Podcasting is originally a just voice only. People have turned it into video, and that's okay. But this is talking to your ideal audience through their headphones, through their heads, into their hearts, into their minds. And we're going to really just share your light directly with them. Now, it's showing up about in a way that feels really aligned, empowered, and true to you. All right, let's talk about the power of your voice a little more, right? So it's again, like I mentioned, super powerful. It goes right into the hearts, the minds of people, but it is your most magnetic tool you have in your arsenal. When people hear you speak, whether it's in a podcast, a summit, a video like this, a live call, or even a DM voice message, they can feel you. They can feel your energy. They can feel your presence and they can feel your truth. There's something about the voice where you can really hear whether or not that person is caring and whether or not that person is really interested in talking to you, really interested in helping you, right? And that just creates an instant trust. It just creates that instant moment of like, this is the person I want to talk to. As a spiritual entrepreneur, we're not just selling a service or a product. We're really inviting people into transformation, into our world, and helping and guiding them to whatever that next step is, right? That transformation begins the moment they hear your voice and feel that connection. And let me just tell you, you don't need a massive audience. We are going to grow your show, but you don't need a massive audience to begin with. You just need the right one. And finding that right audience actually begins with a nerdy little step called SEO. But let me just also tell you that your voice is how you're going to call them in and how you're going to keep them in your sphere of the world, right? So sharing your stories, sharing your perspectives, sharing your passion, and sharing your light is how they're going to know, like, and trust you. And then they're going to book a session with you, buy your course, move on to the next step. When that next step could be a discovery call, or that next step could be just a newsletter sign up. So anything to get them to move from listening to the next step. And that happens with that powerful thing we call a voice. All right. So I also want to talk a little bit about the fear of visibility because even myself, as spiritual entrepreneurs, we really struggle with showing up online. I know this. I'm one of those. And it can make us really feel vulnerable, right? Like, ooh, what's that person think? Ooh, what's that person think? But you know what? It's okay. It's you may be feeling judged. You may be feeling like you're going to say the wrong thing or you're not ready. But really, visibility isn't vanity. It's a service. It's really something that we really need to get out there. And the best way to do this is through your voice, somehow getting that out there to the people. And in this particular case, I'm suggesting doing some podcasting, right? There is people out there actively looking for the exact medicine that you carry. They are praying for a message, a mentor, a moment of clarity. Have you been there? I have, right? And you could be that answer. And your messages, your wisdom, your knowledge, the power you hold inside that you need to share could be exactly what they're looking for. So when you share your voice, you become a lighthouse, a beacon of light, projector here. And you're not chasing people down. You're just shining steadily and letting that right people find you. So instead of thinking of visibility as self promotion, think of it as soul expression. Think of it as an offering. What do we need to do? Okay, these are some real fun tips. So you could be a guest on other people's podcasts, absolutely. And I do suggest that is a way to grow your business, to grow your podcast. But here's the thing about being a guest, just a guest. You don't really have the floor for what you want to speak to on a weekly or monthly basis, right? You're sharing someone else's audience and growing maybe your email list or your social following. But wouldn't it be great to be also sharing your podcast so that they can then move from one platform, or they're actually not even moving platforms. They're just moving from one show to the next show, and then they're listening and they are actually getting out there to hear what you have to say, your wisdom, your knowledge, your light, right? So while guesting is incredible for growing your show, I suggest that you only do it a couple of times before your show starts, just to kind of get the hang of it, right? Just to kind of get the nerves out, if so to speak. But hosting your own show is really the platform where then you can then decide what you're going to speak about every week, what you're going to share every week, and then who you're going to bring in maybe as a guest. And that is optional. You don't have to have a guest, by the way. And my suggestion here about guesting is you should definitely have most of the episodes be yours in your voice and your knowledge, because by having people on your show, you're sharing the valuable information they have, but you're also allowing them to really become that expert in that particular episode, and don't give your expertise away. So keep that to your own audience and make sure that you align yourself with a number of solo episodes per month that you can then share with your audience and grow your audience. You can also, once you've done a podcast, right? Once you've recorded this, we can repurpose this. You can then create carousel posts, Instagram reels. You can create blog posts. You can create newsletters. As a matter of fact, I suggest doing as many of these as you feel comfortable with, but is not required. There are some things I definitely think should be required. Newsletter is definitely one of them, but they're definitely not required to do them all and to do all of them every week. You could shake it up too, right? Why not? When you are speaking, you'll want to make sure that you have a core message and that you know who you're speaking to. That's the important part. What are you speaking on? And you already know this because this is what you teach, what your courses are about, what you really feel deep in your soul. What are you teaching on? And who is that ideal client? And those two bits of information are actually going to help you with the most important SEO driven bit in all of your podcast name. Now, by naming it something like The Kim Parkinson Show, first of all, the is not really searchable. So let's just remove that and say Kim Parkinson Show. Kim is so many other women out there named Kim. And even if they are searching for my name specific, it's not really something that's going to move the needle, right? We really want to talk about something very specific. So in my case, I could start a podcast about podcasting or something like spiritual alignment in podcasting, something like that. But knowing that, and without actually going in depth into that, I would definitely start with something that is keyword rich. So maybe podcast in the beginning, podcast for spiritual entrepreneurs, beautiful. And when we think about that, the number two thing that people are Googling is first, it's going to be your podcast name. And then second is going to be that description that's underneath. And you want to just make sure that that is full of all of your keywords. But before we even get to that, I know people are going to ask about that cover art. And that cover art really needs to just shine that keyword and shine in a way that people can read it. Big, bold, beautiful font. All the scripty font, leave that for your website, leave that for your social media, and really make sure that they can see that tiny little image on their little mobile device, and they can see that it is a podcast. And your name doesn't even need to be on it. So just hint on that. You just really want the keywords of your podcast on that tiny little image that they have. People are searching for answers, and your dream client is typing into Google or Apple Podcasts right now things like how to start a spiritual business, chakra healing for beginners, or sacred feminine leadership. And while maybe how to start a spiritual business doesn't really resonate, I would definitely flip that around, spiritual business tips or things like that, right? Really think about the SEO when you are diving deep into your podcast. And I know you're thinking, okay, this is not aligned with me and spiritual. I don't want to talk about keywords and SEO. And that's why I'm here to help. So if you feel like a podcast is the way for you to get your voice out there, because, right, your voice is enough, your light is needed, and you don't have to wait until it's perfect to begin. So just start showing up as you are, speak from the heart, and the people who are meant to hear you will. And I can help you get to that next stage by really guiding you on some of these SEO tips and some of these keywords and making sure that your show is not just fantastic in the back end, the production end, but also growing because of all of your SEO driven keywords. I know it's nerdy talk. I'm so sorry. I know. This is why I work with spiritual aligned women. They really need that information to grow. And you have something other people want. And I really, really, really want you to manifest it and bring it into the world and make sure that people can find you so you can share your wisdom and knowledge. So I do believe that there is a little 8 steps to launch your podcast freebie down below there. If you go ahead and grab that, you'll then get on my newsletter list and then you'll get podcast tips on a weekly basis. And also, if you are at all interested in launching or growing your show, please hit me up in the DMs. You can use the word amplify or just reach out if that doesn't feel aligned with you. And we can talk about the next stages of either growing your show or launching your podcast and then growing your business either way. All right. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Kim Parkinson, and I am from KP Creative Media, and I am here to help you have the best amplification of your voice that you can have. Have a great day.